Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and yes, they do. Now, before I get to my questions, I do just want to say that I really appreciate the sacrifice of our service members and military families, and I know everyone on this dais feels the way, especially in the Air Force. As you know, Washington is home to the Fairchild Airforce Base, so we thank everyone. Mr. Secretary, as I'm sure you are aware, as a former KC-135 navigator yourself, our Air Force currently does not have the refueling capacity it needs to sustain operations in important strategic theaters. Fairchild Air Force Base in my home state of Washington is home to one of the Air Force's largest air refueling wings, and its proximity to the Arctic and the Indo-Pacific makes it a very key strategic launching point. Now, the existing KC-46A contract only has a few years remaining. When does the Air Force plan to award the next tanker production contract?
Senator, so I'll take for the record and exactly the date of when we're planning on awarding. But it is definitely a focus of ours. We agree we have to maintain and continue to build out the tanker fleet to maintain that capability, as just demonstrated over the weekend. It's a critical part of our architecture.
And you can't even give me an approximate within a year, within a month, within days, within.
I would have to yield to the acquisition folks to figure out when that decision is going to be made. We understand that we're on the cusp of the end of the contract, existing contract 183 for the current KC-46. That evaluation is undergoing. I would say within months we'll be able to understand when that date would be, the exact date.
Okay. All right. And what remains to be done to address the remaining Category 1 deficiencies in the KC-46A contract?
Yes, Senator, they're working very hard. They're drawing those down to a few. Obviously, we still have a couple with the remote visualization system. The 2.0 version of that should be completed. That's really the long pole in the tent for all of them. That should be done by the fourth quarter of 27. We also have a crimped sort of drain valve issue that's being worked. We also have one where they call it the stuck boom, where it can only refuel. There's one aircraft it can't refuel, and that's the A-10. But largely, those are. They keep it from being full capability, but they're just refueling just about everything, including several of the capabilities that happened last weekend. So it's still a capable aircraft. We need to keep working.
Okay, and if you could just stay in touch with my office as you get closer on those details. Let me switch topics, because over the past few years, policies to help recruit staff for child development centers on military bases have led to lower wait times, especially in the Air Force. In fact, in 2024, the Air Force wait list dropped below 3,000 children, done by we worked really hard to get it there, and that was the lowest since the Air Force began tracking it back in 2018. But after Trump's hiring freeze on civilian employees at DoD, several Air Force bases have been forced to reduce their child care services, and the child care wait list has now ballooned to over 4,000 kids. That is really unacceptable to me. That would leave our military families and parents who are putting their lives on the line for our country really scrambling to find child care. And in many places, CDCs are the only real option for child care. So, Mr. Secretary, what is the Air Force doing to make up for the CDC staff shortages?
We are very aware of the issue, Senator, and it is a priority for us to fix, and we are looking at that. Talked about it just yesterday with the team. I think there is a plan to start addressing the shortfall in staffing. I don't know, General Allvin, you have any more details on it?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Senator, what I would add to that is your point is exactly right. When we work very hard, and we got the critical caregivers at the level. During this initial deferred resignation program, we kept all the providers. They were not authorized to go, but some of the back staff, the support staff, was authorized to go. And so that, because of that, we had to close a couple classrooms here and there and reduce that. I believe that is going to be faster to rehire than it would be to get the care provider. So I think that's where.
If you can stay in touch with my office on how you're progressing on that, what you're doing, I would appreciate it. And finally, I want to ask, because over the past few months, we've seen the Trump administration start to systematically dismantle DOD's ability to welcome all who wish to serve. And I am particularly concerned about attacks on women's service members, from healthcare to firing senior leadership. And in April, the Air Force suddenly reversed its policy allowing women aircrew members to fly during early stages of pregnancy. That policy, aligned with FAA pregnancy guidelines, was widely applauded when it was made in 2022, and then the Trump administration eliminated it without any explanation. That reversal really forces women to choose between advancing their careers and starting their families, and it drastically reduces women's opportunities to develop expertise in really highly technical roles for our Air Force. I want to ask, what data supported the Trump administration decision to prohibit women from flying in non-combat environments during early stages?
Well, thank you, Senator. And that was an Air Force policy change, so that would be on us in the Air Force. And the difference is that even though you talk about the alignment with FAA, the change was to high-G, high-performance aircraft. That was the change in 2022 to enable them to pursue waivers to fly for those high-G and high-performance aircraft. And the idea was to increase readiness, because increasing readiness, having more opportunities for everyone to fly in those high-performance aircraft. What we did, we looked at the data from 2019 to 2022 and saw how many waivers were being pursued, how many waivers were being granted between that time, and then between 2022 and 2025, so 2 3-year periods, and saw no real difference in the amount of time being requested or given for those in high-performance aircraft. So because of that, there was no real increase in waivers from those 2 periods, and the risk was still there. It was an unknown risk that we just reverted to really closer to what the other services have been.
Well, that's not the same as the FAA guidelines. And
Right.
Were there any specific cases or incidences that raised this medical concerns?
It was just the lack of increased readiness without the ability to fully understand the risk. And that was not FAA. That was for the high-G, high-performing aircraft, for which the FAA does not really have those guidelines specific to.
Well, I just have to say that what's a woman supposed to do? Do a pregnancy test before she takes a flight? I mean,
No, Senator, we can give you the full paper. This is not just totally restrictive. It's more aligned with the other services as well.
Well, I have looked at the policy, and I am concerned. I haven't seen the data. You have some, give it to me. If there's specific examples, give it to me. But I do not think that we should discriminate against women service members, and I would really ask you to consider reversing this.
Senator, we'll provide you all the data behind it.
Thank you.